Historical pictures are in black and white. Legendary exploits are in full color. There never was a real Paul Bunyan, but the woods did once echo to the axes of brawny, tough, and boastful lumberjacks very like Paul. The stories of their adventures, exaggerated and elaborated, were woven by storytellers into the legends of Paul Bunyan, tallest, bravest, and greatest lumberjack of them all. As the story goes, Paul was born in a cabin in the Maine woods. But no cabin was big enough for Paul, and when he was put outside, he uprooted tall trees for fun. Put to sea in his cradle, Paul created such huge waves he had to be brought ashore. When Paul grew taller than the trees, he decided to set out for the woods and the life of a lumberjack. This is the kind of scene Paul came upon in Maine: men felling trees and oxen getting ready to haul the logs to the sawmill. In winter, the logs were hauled over the frozen ground by teams of horses or oxen. When spring came, logs were floated downstream to the sawmill. Skillful men kept the logs from jamming together. The crude lumber camps were abandoned when the woods were cut. According to the legend, Paul found Babe, his big blue ox, in the Maine woods. When Paul and Babe set out for the west, impressions left by Babe's feet created 1,000 lakes. Out west, Paul set up a lumber camp which had the world's largest bunkhouse and cookhouse. The table was so long that even though the waiters wore skates, they could make only one round trip a day. The giant stovetop, it was greased by men with slabs of bacon tied to their feet. The flapjack batter was poured onto the stovetop from a cement mixer. When the batter was poured, a whistle was blown so the men could scramble to safety. Paul was so fast he could blow out the lamp and be in bed before the room got dark. To get shoes for Babe, Paul opened the Mesabi iron mines and hired Ole, the Swedish blacksmith. When the crooked Whistling River froze, Paul hitched up Babe and drew the river straight. Paul's watch was so large it needed winding only on Christmas Day and the 4th of July. Logging camps in the western woods were much bigger than those in Maine. The logs were bigger too. At first, teams of oxen were used to haul the cut logs. Often, the logs were floated down to the mill. Lumberjacks were rough and daring and a fit subject for tall tales. One tale tells how, during the winter of the blue snow, men grew long beards for warmth. By spring, the beards had grown so long and tough they had to be trimmed with an axe. That was the spring Paul decided to pull trees out the ground rather than cut them down. Instead of hauling his logs by train, Paul used Babe to pull them to the mill. He invented the lumber stacker by watching Babe pile lumber with his tail. After the trees were felled, Paul drove down the stumps, leaving the prairies. Then Paul moved on to the giant spruce forests of the Pacific Northwest. Having lumbered from one end of America to the other, Paul retired to a cabin deep in the woods he loved so well. Some say that when the wind whistles through the trees on dark nights, you can still hear Paul Bunyan's faraway cry of "Timber!" The end. Hey friends, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Cheers.